During the opening credits for The Fugitive, you'll see Dr. Richard Kimball sitting right there in that house.
In this video, we're going to take you around, show you a bunch of the filming locations from the 1993 thriller, The Fugitive. We cordially invite you to come along for the adventure.
Come along. For the start of the movie, Kimball was talking to investigators inside the house.
Yeah, they talked to him about what had just happened. Of course, his wife ended up dead. He explains that he was attacked. His wife was attacked by a one-armed man, and he got into a fight with the man as well. Eventually, investigators lead Dr. Kimball out this gate right here in front of the house. And he comes out here and put into a police car. Of course, over here, there's a reporter standing in the road explaining what's happening on the news.
The interior of the house was shown many times in the movie, mainly in flashback scenes. Gerard and his men also show up here to check out the house later in the movie as well. As you can see, the interior is still painted white, as it was in the movie.
We have now made our way on down to North Carolina, where several scenes were filmed from the movie The Fugitive. Right here is where the train collided into the bus.
The Illinois Department of Corrections bus, filled with prisoners, including Harrison Ford, would have come down this road, weaving lane to lane before it nailed this guardrail right here behind us. This actually remains from that scene right down there. We're going to show it to you right now.
They used a real train and bus to create the scene, then left them here in the mountains of North Carolina when they were done. Dr. Kimball jumped right into this spot, right here, to avoid being hit by the train.
This is the bus the actors were on for the scene. It still says Illinois Department of Corrections on it.
This right behind me would have been about the exact spot, maybe one back where Harrison Ford would have been sitting in his prison gear. The passenger over here, the other prisoner, took some kind of poison, a pill of some sort that made him start foaming at the mouth. That's when the guard decided to come through the gate, which was right across here, came out here. And shots started ringing out. The bus, of course, starts swerving all over the road and ends up going down the hill. And that's where it meets up with the train.
Over here is the hollowed out bus they used for the actual collision with the train in the movie. We go into much more detail about the abandoned train wreck in another video, which we will link below. Somewhere over here in the open area is where Gerard told Newman to think me up a cup of coffee and a chocolate donut with some of those little sprinkles on top while you're thinking. Tommy Lee Jones ad-libbed that line, as well as many of his more humorous lines in the film.
After the collision with the train, Kimball takes off on foot and ends up in this river behind us.
Right down in there is where he ended up. He ended up looking out from there up at a place that at the time was called Taylor Auto Parts. It was located right there. It's there. He saw a gentleman with a mechanic's uniform on, leave it in his truck, and he was able to go grab it so he could get out of his prison gear. Another interesting thing here is at some point around here when he was running through the woods for filming, Harrison Ford actually tore ligaments in his leg. So that limp he walks with throughout the movie, that wasn't acting. He didn't get it fixed until after shooting for the movie was done.
Kimball wades through the water right in here. Then he climbs up the embankment to grab the uniform out of the truck in the parking lot above.
Next, Dr. Kimball came here to this hospital to have his injuries treated and to try to disguise himself by shaving off his beard.
Yeah, it was pretty helpful to be a doctor at this point in time because he was able to treat himself without having to be seen by any of the staff, although they did see him on the way out. All right, here's where it was. The emergency room would have been right here. You can actually still see the remains up here of the word emergency. It was there for the movie. This has been changed now, and it's some kind of storage area. I don't know what it is now, but it's not an emergency room anymore for this hospital. Also, through here is where he had to steal the ambulance to escape. That's right over here is where the ambulance drove right by.
Here you can see where the emergency sign was hanging during the movie. Then over here is the area the parking space was at where the state police officer parked his car. This was the walkway and entryway to the emergency room for the movie. The interior scenes were shot inside here as well, but we can't get in today because of COVID. Over here is where Kimball took off in the ambulance.
After Kimball steals the ambulance, he ends up right here in Bryson City.
And you can see this train right behind us in the picture through the window of the ambulance. And there are a couple other shots around here too. We'll show them to you right now.
Come on.
This is where he quickly raced around the vehicles and beat the oncoming train as the railroad gates were coming down. Then behind the ambulance, you can see this blue building with the Bryson sign on it, which still looks the same to this day.
We are now at the dam where Kimball jumped out of when he was trying to escape from Gerard and his men.
And he did make a clean getaway from Gerard and his men. This is where Tommy Lee Jones, Gerard, says he did a Peter Pan right off the dam, and he jumps down into the water below. Of course, you can also see that pipe right there, the men climbing on that pipe at one point in the movie. Now, the other thing here is that Kimball jumps out of an opening of the dam. As you see, there are no openings in the dam. That was added in and filmed somewhere else entirely.
The water was flowing through the dam on the day of the filming to make it look better on film. Gerard and his men walked down the large pipe you see on the far end of the dam. A little later, a helicopter is flying down near the water as the men are walking in that area down below the pipe.
One other thing that we'd like to point out about the dam is
that over here, there is no tunnel for an ambulance or anything else to drive through. That also was shot somewhere else and added in.
This is the approximate spot where they got the shot of the dam in the background, and then Kimball swimming downstream as he escaped from the marshals.
Kimball dyed his hair in an attempt to disguise himself. Then he hitchhiked his way back to Chicago to this spot over here where there used to be a payphone.
Yeah, we know this is the exact spot because in the movie, you can see that bell out of the corner and also this tower right here. It's actually here at a beautiful spot at the Chicago Riverwalk.
Kimball also walked under the L train tracks right here.
This is where Dr. Nichols Tennis Club was located.
It was called the North Bank Club. It had a blue awning coming out right here, and then they added some stairs in right here for the movie. It's right here by the river, beautiful location. Of course, Dr. Richard Kimball caught up with Dr. Nichols shortly after that to get some money from him.
Nichols walked out the door right here, down the stairs, and picked up his Beamer from the valet parking attendant.
And it was right under here
where Dr. Kimball met up with his buddy, Dr. Charles Nichols, to get the money.
Kimball walked up to Nichols' car right here, and Nichols gave him a few dollars out of his wallet. Then he turned to the right as Kimball also went that direction.
Kimball then made his way back over here to the Cook County Hospital.
While he was in the hospital trying to search for information about the one-armed man, he saw a young boy who was in bad shape. He realized that they had misdiagnosed this boy, so he wrote it in for him to go into surgery immediately, which did happen, but that drew some suspicion at the hospital.
The former hospital building is now a Hyatt hotel. Kimball and the U.S. Marshals returned to the hospital many times throughout the movie as Kimball attempted to figure out who killed his wife. Here is where the thrift store was, where Kimball got his picture taken for his fake hospital ID badge and picked up some hospital clothes.
At one point, you can see Gerard and his crew coming out of that garage behind us.
Coming right up that ramp right there.
This was the ramp leaving the parking garage for Gerard's office building.
Here is the house where Kimball rented a room in the basement. The cops came here during the movie and arrested the drug-dealing son of the lady who owned the house. Of course, that gave Kimball a good scare.
You can see Kimball walking right through here on his way to the jail.
Yeah, we're in Daly Plaza, downtown. That's the Picasso down here. And based on the angle of it, he was probably somewhere right over here. But there's a tent set up today, so we can't get the perfect shot.
The Chicago Picasso was put up back in 1967.
Dr. Kimball came to visit a one-armed man in jail.
Yeah, you can see this crosswalk right behind us. He walked right across there and into the doors of what is actually City Hall here in downtown Chicago. Of course, this isn't really a jail. Oh, there is some kind of holding cell in there apparently, but they set it up to be the jail.
Kimball walked right through here and into the doors of City Hall. Inside, he quickly realized the one-armed man he was talking to wasn't the one-armed man he was looking for.
Kimball runs through the Daily Plaza and then ends up over here in the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
The cool thing about this is really neat. The St. Patrick's Day Parade was actually going on when they shot the scene, so it was the real St. Patrick's Day Parade here in downtown Chicago. Kimball, of course, threw the green hat on and blended in with the crowd.
You can see the McDonald's in the background of some of the shots in this scene. It was 21 degrees with a wind chill of -6 during the parade. This scene wasn't scripted in advance. Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones just made it up as they went along, with Ford later saying he wasn't recognized and was able to just blend in with the crowd for the first several minutes of filming.
Eventually, Dr. Kimball stayed at that hotel that is behind us.
Says hotel, men only. Actually, this is a great spot here in town for homeless people to stay. It's a place that they definitely have fought to keep open here in Chicago.
Kimball walked out of the door right here underneath the hotel men only sign.
Kimball is continuing his search for the one-armed man, and he ended up here.
Yeah, this building right back here. He was right around in this area because you can see that off in the distance. Of course, the labeling up there on the top, sorry, is a little bit different now than it was back then. As a matter of fact, it's been pretty much completely removed and shut down.
At the time of filming, the sign above the door said Athens Grocery Store, and the big air conditioner was right above the door, as it still is. Kimball then took off down this alleyway and climbed on a roof on his way to the one-armed man's house.
We are now at the one-armed man's house, where Kimball breaks into to find out that the man is seriously the killer.
Yeah, the man's name was Sykes, who was living in that house there. Of course, Kimball puts a lot of things together in that house. He sees a picture where he recognizes someone else in the picture. He also finds out that Devlin McGregor Pharmaceutical Company is actually connected to this whole entire mess that he's in. So he calls up Gerard on the phone, tells him he's found a big piece of the puzzle, and leaves the phone dangling there so Gerard can track the location right here.
The entrance to the one-armed man's house was the door to the left of the one with the 11219 sign on it. Eventually, he shows up, walking down the sidewalk here, and Gerard and his team come down the stairs here.
The one-armed man was standing here on a payphone calling and saying that he couldn't find Dr. Kimball anywhere in that hospital. But then he says, well, I made him, because he sees Dr. Kimball coming out of that alley right there.
Dr. Kimball comes through this alleyway right here, looks a couple times off to his right, and then takes off that way. Dr. Kimball then walked down this street straight to the stairs. Kimball ran up the stairs right to the train station.
Yeah, we can't unfortunately go up there. Stop. No entry.
Kimball runs up the stairs, followed not far behind by the one-armed man. A Chicago police officer ends up dead on the L train. That makes the Chicago police very upset with Kimball and ready to kill him if they get the chance.
After a fight with the one-armed man, the train comes to a stop right above us.
Right up there. They call it Balbo Station in the movie. However, it's actually Clark Lake Station.
This is where Dr. Kimball came to get rid of the gun.
Yeah, 203 North LaSalle. You can see it on the windows in the movie. You see, it looks just a little bit different now. I think it was a pull-open door in the movie, and then he drops the weapon into the USPS box.
The gun he drops in the box is the one he got from the one-armed man.
All the main characters of the movie ended up meeting right here at the Hilton Chicago Hotel.
This was at the end of the movie, of course. Dr. Nichols was giving a speech here. Dr. Kimball showed up, interrupted the speech, and started arguing back and forth with him, making his case as to what all he had done wrong. They end up fighting in the hotel. They end up way up on top of the hotel where they fall down an elevator shaft. We're about to get nailed by a bus. Then they ended up in the hotel's laundry room where Gerard is there as well. Nichols says, they killed my wife. Gerard says, I know.
The Chicago Police Department have a helicopter flying around with men on it shooting at Kimball while he's on the roof. Gerard is able to get them to stop eventually. Then they all end up in the hotel's laundry room. All the interior scenes during this sequence were shot inside this hotel.
Wow, we sure had a lot of fun tracking down all the fugitive locations.
Lot of fun. We hope you enjoyed it as well. And be sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you can come on with us on future adventures.
Come along.